Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Tamara, and today we are discussing the August Buddy Read thriller title. If you would like to see this in video format, head on over to Patreon. You will be able to see our pretty faces and no commercials. We also have a really fun after show today where we are talking about some more book drama, this time booktube book drama. So it's going to be a fun conversation. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget, you can also join me and my two co-hosts over on the Book Clubs app for even more book chats. Please subscribe and like the podcast wherever you're listening. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me everywhere at Shelf Addiction. Joining me today is feature co-host Classy from the Bookish Virtual Assistant. Welcome back, Classy.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Tamara.
Tell everyone where they can find you online.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You can find me at Classy Green 1 on Instagram, Classy Green on Twitter, and the Bookish Virtual Assistant on Instagram.
So are we calling that X yet, or are we still saying Twitter?
Damn. You know what?
I haven't started saying X. That's why I just say find me everywhere.
And the weird thing is I saw that like pop up on my social media stuff. I'm like, what the heck is X? And then it hit me. So I don't know.
Yeah, we're calling it Twitter. Y'all know what we're talking about.
The only X I know is Wakanda. I don't know. I got to get used to it.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before we get started, we'd like to remind you that, as always with book chats, we talk full spoilers here, so you've been warned. Spoiler alert. Today we are discussing the book Stone Cold Fox, written by Rachel Kohler Croft. The audiobook is narrated by Carlotta Britton, published February 14th, 2023 by Berkeley and Penguin Audio. The hardcover comes in at 368 pages. The unabridged audio is 11 hours and 32 minutes. Classy, would you kindly share the synopsis?
Yes. Like any enterprising woman, Bee knows what she's worth and is determined to get all she deserves. It just so happens that what she deserves is to marry rich. After a lifetime of forced instruction in the art of swindling men by her mother, Bee wants nothing more than to escape her shadow, close the door on her sordid past, and disappear safely into old money domesticity. When Bee finds her final mark in the perfectly dull, blue-blooded Colin, she's ready to deploy all her tricks one last time. The challenge isn't getting the ring, but rather the approval of Colin's family and everyone else in their tax bracket, particularly his childhood best friend, Gail. Going toe-to-toe with Gail isn't a threat to an expert like Bee. But what begins as an amusing cat-and-mouse game quickly develops into a dangerous chase. As the truth of Bee's past threatens to come roaring out, she finds herself racing against the clock to pass the finish line before everything is exposed.
All right. So, according to Goodreads, this is a thriller, mystery.
Not more of a suspense, but
yeah. Suspense is not in the top genre tags,
no,
but I would agree with that.
Yeah, because it was more of a build-up. Thrillers, I don't know. In my opinion, thrillers are more, and here's the thing, thrillers are more the pacing of a thriller. Well, and some people did think the pacing of this book was pretty fast, and thriller-like, I didn't think the pacing was fast. I thought it lulled a lot. Because there was a lot of jabbing and a lot dialogue. It wasn't plot. It wasn't plot pushing forward the storyline. Some of it was more of just Bee is a narcissist, and she's quick witted, and she has a slick tongue. I didn't think the pacing was fast.
It wasn't. I think at the beginning of the book, it kind of dragged for me when we were in present day. I was getting some of the vibes. Remember, I think it was Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier, where I was more interested in the past than I was in the future, the present. And I kind of felt that way here too, because I felt like the parts where we were getting her childhood with her mother went really fast in comparison to her present day shenanigans.
Yeah.
So at first I'm like, okay, well, how long is this going to go before I have some interest in the main story, like the current story?
Mhm.
And it was a while. It was quite a while, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think when you told me you were at 48%, I think I was a little bit past you, and I still was just like, I wasn't sold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
pretty that's a pretty long distance or percentage in a book before I have to say I'm in. And even if it was slow and you did a lot of build up, and we've had those before,
Mm-hmm.
but the writing has to be on point where you are keeping me suspended and waiting for what's going to happen next. And this wasn't that. It was just a snarky, beautiful white woman who knew her shit. She knew, she knew the art of the con. Um, I saw it as, not the housewife. Well, yeah, I kind of got the housewives of whatever feeling. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if all those housewives came for money or not, but it that's all I felt. I was not thoroughly impressed with the storyline.
Yeah, I think the most entertainment value that I got out of it is when B and Gail kind of started going at each other. And especially after the part where she said, "Hey, be a bridesmaid." I said, "Oh no. Oh no."
Hmm.
And I have to like I made a note at 55%. It was like her engagement flew by really fast.
It did.
And the whole time I'm thinking, why, on the side note, why are you trusting Syl? Why are you trusting that assistant so hard? So we are, the bridal shower slash bachelorette evening. And B's like, I have, not B, Gail's like, I have a surprise. We're going somewhere special. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
And I have to say I was very uncomfortable with that scene as they walk into the mansion. I was like, I felt very I think that was the height for me of where I felt anything in this book
Yeah.
was I felt anxiety for B.
Right. Yeah. And the other part,
Yeah.
and with that, I did too, because it was just like we knew some of the things that had happened, or we kind of assumed because it
Mhm.
was a little fade to black, but you understood what this house was or what she did as a teen, her mother had her do. Um, but it was almost kind of like, well, she passed out, so that would,
Mhm. She did.
it was that. But but yeah, that was a very climactic part of the story, and I too was like you, like how all of a sudden you go from hating your fiance's assistant who put you on blast to trusting her. Oh, I forgot. Keep your keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. And then she really began to, like her. But she also thought Seal was almost like a challenge to her because Seal was just as beautiful and leggy
Mhm.
and buxom. So,
Yeah. I think she saw some of herself in her and that's what she didn't like.
hmm,
And then later when it came out, like when she's like, so obviously spoilers, right?
right.
She comes out that they are actually sisters. When she like kind of blurts this out to her, I'm like, oh my God. And I wondered, I'm like, what is it about her? What is her motivation? The whole time I kept thinking, there's something here. I know there is. I just don't know what.
Yeah.
And then I thought, are they half siblings? I thought, and then I'm like, wait, they're whole ass siblings. And a whole other story happened
Yeah.
in the past because, she's the older sister. Syl is the older sister by some years.
Mhm. Yeah. And at first when she reveals it, she says, "We have the same dad." And that's,
Mhm.
she didn't say you're, like we're full sisters or whatever, however you said, you like you're my sister. She just said we
Mhm.
have the same dad. And I'm like, "Oh. So is she one of the men that because her mother's name was B at a one time. Her mother had different aliases. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, like, was this, one of the other men that she married and left? And
It
then,
could have been.
yeah, and then it slowly, right. And then it slowly began to reveal that no, not only did they have the same father, they had the same mother. And I did think that Seal was in cahoots with Gail. I always
I
thought that.
did. I did
Always.
too.
But
I'm like, why is she? And I'm like, no, she left you to go to that mansion. I'm like, no. And she was in it with her,
mhm,
but she thought she was doing something else, right?
yeah,
She thought that, Gail had good intentions to help her kind of get into B's good graces so she could tell her the truth.
yeah,
But instead, she was using her.
right. Ugh. Yeah. But yeah, like you said too, that probably was the most climactic part of the book. And then maybe close to the end when it came time to when the mother showed up. But then that kind
Yeah.
of died out for me too, because I felt like there wasn't enough time for that. Like I felt like for mom to come in, um the way it kind of gave me like a little Jackie Collins vibe. The way she sure we could do this and that, like it wasn't enough time. It was so
Mhm.
short lived. It was almost like she showed up, you come in the house, she's sitting on the couch smoking a damn square and tells you this is the plan, and out she goes and the story fades. And I'm just like,
Yes.
no, the way that should have gone, she should have been brought up way before the I don't know what it was when she came in, but it should have been long before that, because it was just weird.
But did you think, like, now I wondered, like, the whole book, the author tries to make us believe that B killed her mother.
Mhm.
We think she killed her mother. We're supposed to think that. But even B is like, how does she know X and X? How does she know about this place? I covered my tracks. I dotted the I's and crossed the T's. Where is she getting the information from? And I'm like, it's someone. And then I'm like, she obviously, and then she finds the sister, and then she finds the mother. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
it all makes sense. But I too thought that there was a lot more opportunity when the mom showed up.
Yeah.
So I guess that one scene was pretty good too when B goes to confront Gail at her apartment. Like she takes her pregnant butt over there
Yes.
and she's like, they're like about to have it out. And then next thing you know, B is like trying to strangle her to death. And she almost does it.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, she comes up off her and she breathes.
Yeah.
She almost killed her.
Yeah. You're right. That was a good scene right there, because I was just like, yeah, I'm about tired of you too, Gail, even though she is right, but I'm about tired of you too. I was like,
Mhm.
and I mean, you think about it, the adrenaline and the cortisol going through that pregnant woman's body
Mhm.
to kill her because she's about to reveal who she really is. But yeah, I mean, they were very similar in ways, except for class and status, but they were very similar. Um, but yeah, I wish the entrance of the mother would have taken place earlier in the story, because the plot that they wanted, or the plot that the mother had to kill Gail, was
Mhm.
convenient and quick. And I was like, Rachel Collar, you did all of this build up to do this?
Yes. And like, so uh, B really thought her mother wanted her to take care of this herself. B thought, I have to figure this out. She's going to make me do this. I have to do this, or it's going to be hell to pay, basically. And then to find out, so she's there, she's ready to tell Colin. She's got her guts up. She's like, I have something to tell you, Colin. And the phone rings. She's like, It's important. tell you,
Yes.
she thinks her spot is about to be blew up. And then we find out that her mother took care of the business for her, which was so anticlimactic.
Mm-hmm.
The mother kills B in a fire, an accidental fire, and she's free. Just like that.
Yeah. Poof.
Poof.
But it's not that easy. And I know that's how the way, the author wanted to leave it in the end of the story, because I have something over you. Now your mother has something leering over you for the rest of your life. But
Yes.
yeah, it was just like, I don't know if I like that. That's how I felt.
No.
I was just like, this could have been done so differently, but it's not my story. I am not the author. But I just felt like if she was going to drag us along that far, then it should have been a banger of an ending.
Yeah, and I feel like okay, so I'm torn because Gail's character was so unlikable. I didn't even feel bad when she died. I'm like, oh well, she gone. And I don't know if the author cared about us caring about her, or if learning about B's past was making us more sympathetic toward her. I'm not,
Mm,
because she grew
yeah,
up in a way where she was trained to deceive people, right?
right,
She couldn't even call her mother her real name.
right.
She couldn't call her mother when people weren't around.
Yeah. Right, because her mother said we were good old girls. Like
Yeah.
she treated her daughter like,
Like they were partners in crime.
yeah, they were Thelma and, well, not Thelma and Louise, but they were just two girls, living the good life off these men. And I mean, she
Mhm.
basically waited for her daughter to start her, she knew, ooh, when that period
Oh,
starts.
oh my God. So let me talk about that. So in the book, I made a note. I can't remember the percentage, but the mother was asking. Okay, so first off, her daughter had an eating disorder. And she did probably through her adulthood because her mother didn't want her to eat anything. If her mother had 2 bites, she had one because her mom would come down on her for eating. So if you have problems with food and stuff, FYI, that is in this book for a good amount.
Yeah.
Um, so after that, I'm like, And then the mom's like, why don't you have your period yet? I'm like, she's malnourished, bitch. That's why she doesn't have it.
I
She's
know.
malnourished.
I was
And then
thinking
you
the same
wonder why
thing.
she. You.
Let her eat a hot dog. Maybe she'll have her period. Let her eat some fries and that ice cream cone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
So then she finally got the period. And then all of a sudden, we got to go. We got to move on. I'm like, oh no.
because she's got
And then
bigger
we
and better plans.
look, so she took her to this mansion. And this is the minute I knew what had happened. They walk in, the mother goes, talks to the guy. She comes back. They follow this woman like some flowers in the attic type shit, walking through this old house. This woman's guiding them to these rooms. I'm like, okay. The mother goes in the room and she's like, oh, go with her. I'm like, oh no, she
Madam.
just sent her daughter off. I said, oh, no. I know exactly what this is. And the minute she walked into that office with that dude, I'm like, damn, she sold her daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for the highest bidder. And
Like,
then
that
try to
is
convince her that you're in
outrageous.
charge. You don't have to do anything. And then when
Mm-mm.
she said she didn't want to do it, she was like, "Psh, bitch, what you think?"
Exactly. What is this? I did all the work.
Yeah.
And then when so poor B, she gets it together enough to run away.
Yeah.
She runs away. She's doing her thing. The mother hunts her down. And what does she do? You owe me.
Yeah. That was, and right. I think the author did want us to have some type of feeling for B, because she was kind of like the anti-hero. It was like
Mm-hmm.
she was a bitch, but she paid the price to be that bitch, and that's all she knew how to be. That's her survival mode. She didn't know anything else. Yes, she was a high she was good at her job and this and that, but she was better at the art of the con. And
Yes.
I mean, because she studied, like, some of the things I did like about this story is the study that she did, not just of men, but of women. Like she would say Gail didn't have her nails polished and she wore these old dresses that didn't do anything to her shape. And I can't
Mhm.
believe she didn't even have a French manicure. And I mean, at one point I was like questioning myself, like, damn.
Oh, I used to wear French manicures all the
I
time, girl. I
know.
did. When I was single, I was like, French
Yes, but
manicure?
she made me, really question because she knew what men liked in like how she sat at the table and she leaned forward and arched her back and she would, you know, um, run her finger down his back slightly with the tips of her nails because they like that and this and that. So I did enjoy that the author took the time to let us know that this young lady was taught by the best and she
She was.
used it to her ability. And so yeah, I did enjoy those little pieces because that's a world that I had no clue about. But when she was saying those things, I have seen some of these women at work, not at, like at my job, but I've seen them in action. And I was like, oh, so it made me cognizant now. So now I'm kind of looking around looking for some bees, like, oh, because I'm a people watcher.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will notice it now that you're aware.
Yeah.
And it's like they always look a certain kind of way. Even the women with brown skin, they look a certain way. They
Mm-hmm.
have the long hair. They're very slender.
Mm-hmm.
They are snatched
Mm-hmm.
to the max.
Yes.
You can tell on TikTok right now, they have it's a trend of women who have like sugar daddies, right? Or
Mm.
women who marry older rich men, or women that marry up and they have like, oh, my wife is married to a billionaire in Dubai. Like you'll see these things on TikTok. Don't ask me how I got in my feed because I don't, I'm not looking for an old man. Trust me. But they all look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
They all, they're like wearing a uniform.
Yep. Stepford Wise. It's a presentation, and they
Hmm.
know when the man is in certain places that she is going to look good on his arm.
Hmm.
So they do, like you said, slim, long hair, probably minimal makeup, a little, maybe some work done, um, certain hairstyles. But yeah, you are right.
Full skincare regimen, nails and toes every 2 weeks,
Hmm.
brows dyed. They are primping
Yeah,
like all the time.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that was interesting. And it's almost like that's why I almost couldn't even get mad at B, because it's like fair exchange is no robbery, right? These dudes know what they're getting. They know what type of woman they're looking for, and they know they're going to pay for it some kind of way. So,
Definitely. Oh yeah,
mm,
definitely. They know it's a price to it. Because,
mhm,
half the time, even with them in that status, they know that they've been raised with that. That the
right?
dad or the mom has told them. Because that's why they're so selective on who they allow or into that family. And, they were really weary about B because, they couldn't really find anything on her historically. But like you said, they knew it was a price to pay
Mhm.
immediately. So,
Yeah. And I guess another aspect to me that the author was trying to make be more likable was that, she was very different from her mother in that her mother was running through those dudes, running through them, grabbing the money and moving on. B wanted one big final,
catch.
yes, the big catch that would stick forever.
Yep.
Like forever and ever. Like she had an opportunity to like live out one of her fantasies with one of the friends. And she was like, and I'm like, girl, don't be an idiot. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No.
And then she didn't, because she like, hold on.
Right. He's hot and my loins is hot, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. And like ultimately she ended up saying, I don't want to hurt Colin anymore. He's a nice guy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So she even likes him. Like, I don't know if I'd say she's in love with him, but
Right.
she like, oh, I got this kid. I'm even willing to pop out a couple more, even though I don't want to. because it's expected. It just solidifies my bonds in this family.
Right. And like you said,
Yeah.
once she's in that tax bracket, once she's in that group, and I think, and I should have brought my book. I was running late. Once these women or these men, I don't know, there's probably some men out there who, well, there are some men out there that will latch on to some rich women. There's some stories about them too. But once they are in that crowd, once they are in that tax bracket, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see it all the time. A
Mm-hmm.
basketball wife, she divorces this one, but she goes find somebody else who's
Yeah.
just as rich or somewhat in that area, and that's what B was looking for. Once she's in there, she's in there. Granted, her and Colin may or may not make it, but she's in that class. She's in that vicinity. People know her name. She's gonna find
Yeah.
somebody else
You
easily.
circulate in those crowds now.
Yeah,
But I honestly believe she wants to be with Colin.
yeah.
I believe that even her mom was like, "Oh, you just wanted a home, basically. You wanted someplace to be."
Well, I mean, because she didn't have that at home. I
Exactly.
mean, she said the one time when she liked, was it Dean? Whoever it was. No, it wasn't. Was it Dean she liked?
The one father dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it
one
might
that
have
she
been
really,
Dean.
really
Yeah,
liked. He liked her. He gave her a
he let
present.
her eat.
Right. But it seemed like once she really
Yeah.
liked a place, they had to move on. So she was looking for stability. And she
Hmm.
didn't care if he was boring or whatever. She just needed to make sure he was making, you know, major bucks.
Honestly, let's keep it real. We all make choices when we accept the proposals of whoever is asking us.
Mhm.
Well, I might not get this, but I'm gonna get that.
Yep.
We
There's
may
some
not have that,
concessions.
but we'll have this.
Yep.
And that happens at all tax bracket
Mhm.
levels.
It does. Because I mean that's a part of being in a relationship that
Mhm.
you're going to is there's going to be some compromise, there's going to be some I won't say
Because
compromise.
it's not all love. It's exchange as well.
Some of it is transactional.
It is. Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, some
It
of it.
definitely is.
Yeah,
Like, come on. Like, there are some women, these dudes will not come with no rinky dink ring. Is they gonna be like, excuse you? What is
yeah, yeah. And
this?
then and there's some people, um, and I mean, looks are everything to men. Not all
Hmm.
men, but you look at some of these men and you like, oh, how?
How did that happen?
Yeah. And they'll try
Like,
and say,
she's so
looks
far
are
higher than you.
out of your range, out of your range. And some people, oh, it's not always.
See,
Come
you
on,
know what
bruh.
though? Look, on another note, but in that same family, a lot of women don't want to date men that look better than them. They don't want a hot guy. A lot
Yeah,
of women don't.
yeah.
They want somebody that
Because
is
they're
on the even with them,
because
or
they want to be
maybe even a little
center
uglier.
attention.
Because yes, give now honestly, I feel like some people do want the hot guy, but it never sticks. They don't marry them.
Yeah, because of the attention and all
Yeah.
the mistrust and worry, and I'm not
Mhm.
sure because blah blah. Yeah, it is. It is.
Mhm.
That is a lot of work. But yeah, and even she mentioned that he wasn't that exciting. He had his teeth were.
She like his veneers are too big. She said maybe we can get that fixed. She like his hair. We need to let him. He
Had to
needs to
grow it
grow his hair
out,
out.
right?
Yeah. And she like I can work on all these things
Yes.
as soon as I get the ring. I move in
Oh
there.
God, when
She's
she
like,
said his teeth were too big,
yeah,
Tamara, I started crying. But she said, but he had good blue eyes, I think. His eyes
yeah.
were good, his teeth were big, and his haircuts were awful. And she's like,
I hate when people get veneers and they're too big for their
oh
mouth.
God, Denzel Washington had a pair. And I was just
Mm.
like, oh, chicklets, chicklets. I was like, woo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it stands out like so
Yeah, I
bad when
was
they're
like,
so
all
big.
I was like, I thought it was gonna be a horse.
Okay, Wilbur.
Yes, I was like, those are way too
Those,
big. Maybe that was for a
yeah, you got
movie.
them horse teeth, man. Get
That was
them
for a
out of
movie,
there.
right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So yeah, I mean, there were some funny moments, but yeah, she had got to the point where it's like, you know what? I could deal with that. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't want to have a baby, but if I have to, because a baby means some extra income, because we all know. And that's the other thing. Like some of these men, when you wind up getting a woman pregnant, you're just like, oh, I gotta pay child support, bruh. That comes with the territory.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
making over six figures,
It's
you
happening.
better
Count on it.
right. Do not rely on her to wrap nothing up or to be on a birth
No.
control. No,
No.
because she is trying to solidify her spot in a tax bracket.
Exactly. Even though in this case, B was like, "How did that happen? I'm taking my stuff," but she like, "It worked out. It's fine
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna have to happen
Yep. And
anyway."
she was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
better now than later. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was an okay story for me. It wasn't. There were funny parts. There wasn't anything that just stood out to me that I was just like, oh my god, I just love this story. Oh no,
Yeah.
there wasn't. Um, no, I'm even trying
Yeah.
to think like, was there something except for like you were saying the point where she when they took her to the big house, basically it was what would we call that house? Not it
They
wasn't a
were
swinger.
trafficking women. It was like a high rollers club
Okay,
with trafficked women and young girls that they could sleep with.
yeah, yeah, and that was and choking Gail. Um, Gail dying, like you were saying, was not because we knew something was going to happen. We knew that phone call was. We knew something on the end of that phone call was going to be the result. Gail was going to come to some kind of demise or be hurt. So that wasn't exciting at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. So those were what, two exciting pieces?
Oh, I have one more.
Okay.
We're going to take a break.
All
Let's
right.
take a break right quick. You guys, by listening to these commercials, you are supporting the podcast. And while you're at it, head on over to Amazon and pick up your copy of the Book Review Journal available right now. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, welcome back, guys. So the other scene I thought about that I thought was freaking hilarious, and they're always between B and Gail. So at the baby announcement, they waited. The baby announcement, Gail is invited, and she hadn't seen her in a while because she had forbade Colin from dealing with her after that whole therapy bullshit. This dude, he got another big ass fault. This dude has severe depression and he don't want to talk about it. He only thinks Gail can help him. And I'm like, this witch is totally taking advantage of you. But
Right. And you're a big
yeah,
grown man.
exactly. She like, go get another therapist. So she nipped that in the bud. Gail got kicked to the curb because she was like, it's a me or her. She laid it down.
Yeah.
And he said, it's not Gail. So bye, Gail.
Mm.
So at the baby shower, like no one knew it wasn't a shower. It was like an announcement, but no one knew they were there for that because one of Colin's parents' friends had a wedding anniversary or something. And while at the wedding anniversary, they said they would make their announcement. And of course, she's wearing an outfit that doesn't really show until she chooses to show. So when they get up there and Colin's like, hey, welcome everybody, and start talking, and she can see Gail's face, like
Yeah,
her
I forgot about
face.
that.
She
I
looked
forgot
like
about
she
it.
about to just shoot daggers at her
Right.
if she could. And she is
She
just,
was like, is that a bump?
yeah. And she's just soaking it up. She like, hey, Gail, what's up, girl? she, like, she just looked forward to tussling with her verbally, and
Mm-mm.
sparring with her at any chance she got.
Yeah, their scenes together when the sparring, yeah, that was fun because they were both pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Gail in her deadpan and B in her overly saturated or sugar coated Southern
Mm-hmm.
accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, uh,
Yeah, it was funny. I'm like, some of those scenes were pretty comical. I'm like, oh my God, these two,
mhm,
what now? But I think those are the highlights. But I think it was very interesting how you'd have these really funny moments with these other, like, like when we got the history and some other parts, you're like, man, that's crazy. That's really effed up and like very disturbing to read about some of it.
mhm.
How the mother treated her and, the men and all this other stuff. I'm like, that was very disturbing. So you had like these two like opposite situations like going on in the book. So I guess maybe comic relief with some
Yeah,
seriousness.
yeah, right, because, I mean, some of the topics were pretty hard, some trigger warnings, selling your sex trafficking your own child.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it did kind of soften it, and I think like you had mentioned too that maybe that's what the author was doing too to kind of make us empathize more with B than
Mm,
yeah, she was a villain or anti-hero in this story, but this is why she's like that.
yes. Absolutely.
I got one question.
Oh,
So,
sure.
at the end with the baby shower and the mother gave
Oh
her
god. Yes. I wrote it down too.
okay.
And maybe you have the answer, but I'm like, what was the gift?
Um, I believe it is the Runaway Bunny book. Because remember, she read that book to
Oh.
her daughter, and she hated it,
Mhm.
and she said, "For your bunny."
Yeah, that's why I'm like, wait, what is the what I'm like, I must have forgotten the tie-in
Mhm.
because I'm like, well, she said it was like a thin box.
Yep.
So I'm like, what is it? I'm like,
Yep.
and I listened twice. I'm like, what the hell is it?
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
oh, it's a book.
I think right, I think it's the book, and I think it's one of those, like, little cardboard books or, picture books, and I don't think
Mhm.
it's that long. It's a really small book, but yeah, she's like, "For your bunny." Yeah.
So just enough for her to remember her mother's out there and can show up at any minute.
Mhm.
And B has decided, she even had this little like self-deprecating moment. She's like, "What can I give this child? This child's going to grow up completely different than me. What do I have?" She's like, "Oh, I can protect them from my mother
Hmm.
cuz she will be back for me
Right. You could give
and
her a
she will be
whole lot
back."
more than what you had.
Well, I think she means like personally cuz
Oh,
really all this is coming from her husband's family, right?
true.
She's talking about how everyone's showing the kid love and they're not even here yet. It's
Gotcha.
like, what do I have to
For
offer
her.
this kid?
Right. Because my mother
Um,
is gone.
I could offer protection. So I'm
Mhm.
like, does that mean that if her mother comes around, she's going to try to off her again? Because she
Right.
tried with poison and it didn't work.
Yeah. Right, and, like, even with Seal, like, they can't tell that they're sisters. So she's
No,
gonna
no
have
one knows.
no, because once she does that, they're just like, "Hmm, we need to dig into your background a little more because you said yeah, yeah, yeah." So now I guess her and Seal are probably gonna ride off into the sunset as besties because that's the only way they can.
Sisters in crime because it sounds like
Mm,
Sil is going for the mother and she's like, you can't do it alone. You won't beat her.
mm-mm. That's why she left you, Seal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she left you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so sounds like they going for it. Or maybe B isn't going right away, but she's gonna be ready when she shows up or
Mm,
something. I mean, it
yeah.
sounds like, she says she can't live forever. So I'm like, well, does that mean you're just gonna wait for the old woman to croak or you just gonna try to offer again? I don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
Can you imagine? I cannot. Like, that is the worst. I'm telling you, this felt like some flowers in the attic type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, straight out of VC Andrews' nightmares. uh,
Yeah. It did. It had those vibes.
it did. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I wish I knew exactly what the author wanted us to get out of it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right because I don't get the motivation. I don't get the stance, like, and I mean, you know what? It could have just been a fun story. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but
Yeah.
not for me.
So, just a little before we talk about the narrators, a few comments from Goodreads. I thought some were interesting. So, let's see. Kay with 2 stars says, all my friends loved it. I'm an outlier. I had to DNF after 5-ish hours, 45%.
Wow.
Yeah. So, let's see. Someone else, Lindsay, 2 stars. This is not at all what I expected. I love a good con woman story. Unfortunately, this didn't have any of the fun scheming I was hoping for from a woman who is smarter than everyone around her. Instead, it was sort of sad.
Mm.
Hmm. Let's see. Tessa with 2 stars says, utterly underwhelming. I found the cover so beautiful and the synopsis interesting enough to immediately dive into the audiobook upon discovering it. Listened for about an hour and then read 2 or 3 other books and basically going, ugh. When yeah, so I also would agree the cover is
Gorgeous.
interesting. I didn't know what to make of it. That's not a cover. Honestly, if I saw that cover on the shelf, I wouldn't go for it. It's not something I would pick up. Would you pick that cover up?
Probably not. But I do, after reading the book, I do get with the jewels, because didn't she mention there were certain, like when Syl asked her about what kind of jewelry she liked,
Mm-hmm.
she mentioned there was only certain jewelry that you could wear because everything, because everything else was probably gaudy or didn't look right. The nail
Although the
polish,
rings on her fingers look like costume jewelry.
right? They do, but they're big, and I think what the cover is trying to portray is money, the
Mm.
jewelry, and then with the 2 fingers. Now with the fingers, I thought that was like a gun, like she was blowing off the tip of a
Mm-hmm.
gun. So I wasn't sure, but it is an
She never
interest.
even had a gun.
No, no, but I
And she
did
was
think it.
scary about killing. Sorry.
Right, she said she couldn't do it. She wasn't the
Yeah.
one. But I thought it was an interesting cover, but I probably wouldn't have bought it.
No,
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't have either.
No.
Sagano, 2 stars. He says the last half of this book made no effing sense at all. It's like the editor said, do whatever you want.
Right.
Just say
Deadline.
anything, it's fine.
Yeah. There's the deadline. Hurry. Let's close this shit up. That's how I felt too. It felt really rushed.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of these lower ratings. That's unfortunate. I really, after we saw the author win an award, won this award at Thriller Fest, and we were like, oh, let's read one of these authors.
Mm-hmm.
I really was like, okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
probably had a good premise, but I can't remember one of the people you read their review, but you were looking for more cunning. There wasn't a whole lot of cunning for in her adventure to get Colin. It was,
mhm.
oh, it's going to take him so long to marry me or be engaged and blah blah blah. But there was no con. It wasn't a lot of con in here.
No.
It was,
Yeah.
she was beautiful. He liked her. She just had to make sure that he kept liking her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, like I said earlier, the ending was really anticlimactic, and that's a letdown. Like, I think that was the biggest letdown. Like, if we go through all of this, I'm like, if it goes out with a bang or a real justice situation, I think that would have been so much more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of flat at the end.
Very, very flat. Yeah. There was no excitement. There was nothing. It was, okay, I have what I want, and now I'm just going to fade into the background. I'm a
Yes.
mother. We're going to raise this baby. We're rich. We're rich, bitch. And that's it.
That's it. That's all they wrote.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the narrator, Carlotta Breton. I think that's how you say it. Breton. I don't know. Anyway, we listened to her just last month. She was one of the narrators on what's his
Taylor's book.
face's book. Taylor Adams' book.
Hmm.
So I think she did good. What do you think? Did you enjoy her on the audio?
I did. I really did. And her saccharine sweet be in her southern. What do you mean, Gail? Because at one point I'm like, why is she sounding so southern? And then I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, she was from like the Carolinas or something else. Because like when she would speak from her point of view, it was just in a regular tone. But when she was speaking to other characters, because I was like, what in the hell is going on? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed her.
Yeah, she was good. I think I was listening at, let me just look at my audiobook right quick. I'm pretty sure I was listening at I actually slowed down. I was listening at 1.7x on Audible. I slowed down and I don't know why. I think maybe I was trying to catch something that I thought I missed.
Okay.
At some point I slowed down.
Okay.
And I just never kicked it back to 2.
Yeah. But yeah, I did. I enjoyed her. She always does a great job, I think, with both male and female voices. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely listen to her again. If I see her name pop up, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know I like her.
Mm-hmm.
She's good.
Yep. Same.
She's solid. Yeah. All right. What else? Should we just rate it? Should we go ahead and just rate the thing?
Yes, please.
All right. Let's rate Stone Cold Fox. You first, Classy.
2 stars.
Woo.
That's my rating. I'm sticking to it. I tried.
I said what I said.
Yeah, I tried. I don't think I would even recommend this because nope. It's a 2.
Yeah, for me, when I first finished it, I was kind of thinking like, oh, that was okay. I was kind of sitting at a 3, but because I finished it a week ago and I started thinking about it more leading into the podcast, if this was this time last week, it probably would have gotten a 3. But because I had time to sit with it, digest it, I had to re-listen to the last 30 minutes of the audiobook. I'm like,
Right, because if you can't remember
yeah.
it within what, a week?
Yeah, I felt like I was missing the details and I wanted a quick refresh because I'm like, I don't really remember exactly how that last little bit went down. And then when I listened back again, it was like right after the part where the mother, confronted her and she had to tell her business to Colin and then all that stuff happened. I'm like, wow, that just kind of happened so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like anticlimactic. I keep saying that, but that's what it was. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. There was no rhyme
This
and reason for it. You got to
yeah.
tell Colin and then what? What we're going to do then, mama? What?
And then what the hell is up with Colin mother? They both have awful mothers. So he is depressed. He is acted out, not going to work. He's sitting there eating. She like his fat ass eating how many blizzards or whatever the hell he was
Yes.
ordering. And she goes to the mother for help. And the mom was like, that's your husband. He'll be all right. He always comes back around. Like,
Welcome
she
to the
like,
family,
but
girl.
yeah, she like, but I'm trying to help him. She like, okay.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, they both have awful parents. They might actually survive.
Yeah.
If I had to make a premonition about their relationship, I would say they're together through all the kids that he wants, at least.
Yeah.
And if that's 10 years or 13 or 15 years, but I think eventually she'll get tired of him going in and out of depression.
Yeah. If he doesn't get help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because after so long, she's like, okay, she's probably settled in because she had a career herself. It wasn't like she didn't have a career. So
yeah, she can just work back that thing up and start working and do her own thing and then get divorced. And she had a prenup, but she got kids now.
So she's settled.
Mm-hmm.
She's set.
Yeah, she good. And like Flynn. All right, so I guess we're going to end it there. Let me look up. What's our next book? Did you happen to have this prepared? Because I know I didn't. Oh, yes, I do. It's right here. I lied. Okay. September is Never Coming Home by Hannah Marie McKinnon.
Okay. We saw her at Thriller Fest too.
Yes, we did. And I've never read anything by her, just like with this author. So she's brand new to me. Have you read anything by her?
I've read this book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because when she was talking, or I guess somebody mentioned this book, and I was like, gosh, that sounds familiar. And we kind of chatted at the hotel. And I was like, let's try that one. And when I looked at Goodreads, it was like, you've read that. I was like, that's why it sounded familiar. So, but yeah, I think that's the only book I've read of her. So from her. And the Rachel, she was a debut author, I think.
Yes, she was.
Okay.
Yeah, she was debut author. So this woman, I'm looking at her books. She has quite a few books out. 2, 4, 6, 7 books she's written. This is her 7th book, I guess.
Okay.
Or 6 with the 7th coming out. I don't know what order these are in, but I see 7 on the page. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see how that goes. I'm hoping it's a hit.
Yeah. I think this one might be the reverse of what we just read. Where the husband, I think, don't quote me.
Okay.
But I think. After you read so many books after a while, because I am notorious, let me tell you guys, I am notorious for mixing up plot lines.
Well, when you read a lot of them, in a short amount of time, that can happen, especially if they're in the same wheelhouse.
And I'm like, no, that was so-and-so did that. And they're like, who is so-and-so? They're not in this book. I'm like,
you're like, what book are you talking about?
Are y'all sure?
Like, yeah, no, that wasn't this book.
Like,
okay.
Damn, okay. So yeah. But no, I'm ready. I can't believe, and I know, we have to move on to the end of the show, but I can't believe how fast this year has gone by.
I know. It's flown by, and it's gonna be fall. It's fall, y'all. As they say.
Sweater weather.
Yes, sweater weather. I love fall. It's my favorite season of the year, especially in Michigan. I love fall in Michigan. It's so awesome. It's my favorite place to be. Actually in the summer too, because it's hot. It gets hot, but it's not like unbearable like the South.
Yeah.
My favorite seasons are
I like fall. I just
summer.
hate what comes after, but I love my sweaters. I love cozy whatever. So
girl, I had that stupid it girl aesthetic, and I don't even mean to say stupid. Last fall I had my little not a cardigan, but I had that shacket. Remember everyone was wearing shackets?
I remember that.
So I had a plaid shacket that was super cute. Okay, I had my little pumpkin spice latte, my PSL. I swear, one day I looked at myself in the mirror. What I had on, I had on my leggings. I said, "Oh my God, I look like what?"
Were you a Pinterest board?
I was a Pinterest board. I said, "Oh my God, look at me." I don't know how it happened. I fell into it.
And you ease right on in there. Yeah, I think shackets are coming back out this year too. I've seen a few YouTube people that were talking about, oh, so and so has cute shackets, and I was like, those are still coming back.
Are plaids still the thing? Are they plaid still? Okay, well I'm gonna whip them things out.
I got get a couple years out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll be that quote unquote that girl again.
See?
And I heard pumpkin spice lattes are coming out even earlier.
Yeah, I have heard that. Definitely.
And I'm like, I feel kind of rude. I'm like mad about it. Like, how dare you put out PSL before Labor Day? What the F is wrong with you?
I know. That's wrong.
Like, get through Labor Day. I feel like it needs to be like October 1st.
The temperature needs to be like it needs to be a certain degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
October 1. Starbucks.
I know.
Anyway. See how we do? Okay, we're off. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Are we done?
We're done.
Today?
We're done.
All right. So if you guys are still listening, we appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. And don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave, and share this podcast with someone you know that likes fiction books. And we will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.